when you're in the middle of a deficit, the first place you run is to the Word. That is your foundation. So Hannah got a word. And the word came to pass because the word of the Lord always comes to pass. It may not come to pass how you thought it should or when you thought it should, but the word of the Lord always comes to pass. And so she went home. And she says, hey, to her husband. Well, it didn't really go like this. This is how it really went. She said, hey, boo, I got a word. Can we go upstairs? Some of you are going to try that today. You're welcome. Honey, I got a word from the Lord at church today. So she ends up pregnant, and then she has Samuel. And in this second year, Samuel was weaned, and this is where Hannah takes Samuel to the temple, and it says this in 1 Samuel 1, verse 24. It says, after he was weaned, she took the boy with her, young as he was, along with a 3-year-old bull, an ephah of flour, and a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of the Lord at Shiloh. When the bull had been sacrificed, they brought the boy to Eli, and she said to him, pardon me, my Lord. As surely as you live, I am the woman who stood here beside you praying to the Lord. I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I asked of him. So now I give him to the Lord. So now I give him to the Lord. I give him back to the Lord. For this whole life will be given over to the Lord. And he worshiped the Lord there. If I had to guess, as much as Hannah wept and prayed for the baby, she wept all the more when she gave the baby to the Lord. Can you imagine? A lot of us think that the testing of our faith is in the deficit phase. But I believe that the testing of your faith comes when you already have the miracle in your hand. Or let me say it this way, number 3. The sacrifice is faith's test. The sacrifice is faith's test. Because here's the deal. Before you get the miracle, before you see the thing that you're believing for, you have open hands, right? You have empty hands. There's nothing there. You're believing for something that's you cannot see. You're believing for something that you cannot hold. You're having faith and hope. And you're laid your evidence on the table before God, but it's not there yet. But then God answers your prayer. And if you're not careful, here's what happens. You'll have a closed hand with a closed grip. And you won't have the capacity to receive what God wants to do next. Because you've got your grip so tight on what He's doing now. And the true test of your faith is when you can live as open-handed after the miracle as you did before the miracle. What God was doing in Hannah was not about Samuel. Oh, that's what the story is about. But that's not what it was about. What God was doing in Hannah was about opening Hannah's womb for the next 6 children that she would have. And what God wants to do in your life is not about what He's doing now. It's about what God wants to do next. And what He wants to do after that. And what He wants to do after that. And what He wants to do after that. But if you get your grip so tight on what He's done now, you won't have the ability to sacrifice for what He wants to do next. The sacrifice, we could say, is our surrender. And our surrender to God is our true test of faith. So for us to have effective faith, we have to adjust our perspective and realize that the deficit is not the obstacle, it's the opportunity. If we're going to have effective faith, we must realize that the Word is our foundation. If we're going to have effective faith, faith that works, we must realize that the true test in our faith comes in the sacrifice. It comes in our surrender to God for what He wants to do next. And listen, a faith that can't be tested is a faith that can't be trusted. A faith that can't be tested is a faith that can't be trusted. So my prayer for you is that during this series and over the next few weeks, as you hear preaching from me and Pastor Richie and Pastor Andrew, is that it stirs the measure of faith that you have.